Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome a very senior professional from India, currently talking to us from San Francisco, USA, Mr. Bhuvan Srinivasan. Bhuvan, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ashutosh. Very nice to be here.
Thank you. Bhuvan is the Chief Business Officer of Ultrahuman. He was earlier Director Private Equity with KKR and Bain in Singapore. So, Bhuvan, let's start by asking you a question about your own journey from working in business, finance, and legal. And then you went on to design the clinical trials at Ultrahuman. So, tell me a little bit about your own journey.
Yeah, sure. So Ashutosh, actually, my career, I would say, was broken up into three parts. The first part was as an R&D scientist working in the US.
Okay.
So that's how it all started. I was a biomedical engineer, then became an R&D scientist. So very technical stuff, working in the lab, coming up with new ways, new algorithms, new technologies. And then I wanted to do something a bit broader, so I started working in business with Bain and Company in Singapore, and then later on in private equity. So the idea really was to expand my knowledge, to go broader and broader. That was the second part. And investing, of course, is a very integrative sort of a discipline, where you really have to consider all the risks, all the benefits that you can get. And then the third piece, which has been more entrepreneurship, which I started about a year ago when I joined Ultrahuman, is now sort of pulling all of that together. So, all the technical skills, all the finance skills, all the thoughts about how to increase value in a company, but also fundamentally how to make things happen on the ground. So those have been the three sort of, parts of my career so far.
Fantastic. And in Ultrahuman, you say that you're building the world's most advanced metabolic fitness platform. Tell me about what you do at Ultrahuman and what is the background of this amazing name?
Yeah, so I think, what people don't perhaps appreciate, we've heard of heart attacks, we've heard of cancer, we've heard of Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. So those are three big issues that the world faces. But actually, there's a fourth one, which is called metabolic disease. And metabolic disease, people say, oh, that's diabetes. But actually, that's not true. Diabetes is part of it. But there's a much broader set of diseases. So these four, which is cardiac, cancer, metabolic disease, and neurological disease, they actually account for 80% of all mortality, if you look at it. So they're the four big ones. And metabolic disease or metabolic fitness is something that has been largely untackled. And so what we are trying to do is bring more awareness to that fact. Essentially, metabolism is the way that your body converts and uses energy. So we can use glucose, we can use fats, we can use ketones, we can use lactates, but we're trying to study what is happening in your body and then bring that to the most optimal way for your health, for your longevity. So good glucose control, good insulin control. Actually, if you have good habits, you will live longer, you will live healthier, you will prevent heart attacks, you will prevent the onset of cancer and so on. So it's like very all-encompassing type of approach. The really cool part is that it doesn't require medication. By changing your lifestyle in small ways, you can actually improve your metabolic fitness and your metabolic health quite dramatically. I'll give you one small example. If you lose 5 to 10% of body weight, you can actually reduce the chance of getting diabetes by 60%, which is dramatic. It's like a huge improvement at a time when perhaps 1 in 3 people have the risk of getting pre-diabetes. This is very, very relevant and very, very important for us to understand.
Fascinating. And you're actually talking to the converted, I've been a diabetic, I'm 66, but I've been a diabetic for about 20 years. And I started a program where I became completely vegan. I've lost 10 kilos and I'm almost entirely off my medication. So
good for you.
Now I can say that
You're ahead of the game.
I understand what the term metabolic fitness means. Thank you so much. But for my viewers and listeners, help me understand, how do you define metabolism?
Sure. So, at the heart of it, I think it's a Greek word which basically talks about to change. So what does it mean to change? It means how is your body processing things? specifically how is the body processing your fuels, your energy? Where does your energy come from, right? And if you remember biology, we have these small organelles in our cells called mitochondria. So the mitochondria are responsible for creating energy in our body, and everything comes from there. So your heartbeat and your muscles and your nerves, ability to breathe, ability to walk, everything is coming from your mitochondria. Over time, through sort of I would say bad lifestyle factors, you end up losing the ability of your mitochondria to generate energy. And that causes a bunch of issues, which then leads to problems around weight gain. It could lead to problems like diabetes. It could lead to PCOS and so on. So metabolism is actually a very broad term, but ultimately it comes down to your body's ability to use energy. And a lot of that, as you would have known, is driven by lifestyle factors and by genetic factors. Genetic factors we can't do anything about, but there's a lot that we can do from the lifestyle. In fact, people say 90% of life is lifestyle and 10% is genetics.
Wow.
So what we're trying to do is to help you improve your sleep, help you improve your food, help you improve your activity, help you improve your stress. Interestingly, all of these contribute to your body's metabolism. So if you're stressed, your metabolism is actually poorer. When you sleep less, your metabolism is actually poorer. So you're actually putting your body into a harmful zone by not taking care of those factors. And obviously food, right? I mean, when we all overeat and all, we are increasing the risk of getting pre-diabetes and diabetes over time. So that's what we're trying to do. It's all encompassing.
Fascinating, absolutely fascinating. And when I was reading about you and preparing for our conversation, you also say that you help in decoding our metabolism. Help me understand, what do you do and what are some of the steps?
Sure. So, we use Wearable. What we do is we use what is called a continuous glucose monitor. And then we also have another wearable called the Ultrahuman ring, and we'll come to that in a second. But the idea is, between these wearables, we figure out, what does your lifestyle look like? What are you eating? Are you active? Are you not active? How are you sleeping? When you exercise, do you recover quickly, not recover quickly? And from that, we are trying to figure out, for you specifically, right? Is your problem sleep? Or is your problem food? Or is your problem activity? Or is your problem stress? And so you could have a sleep problem, I could have a stress problem. So what you need to do is very different from what I need to do. So that is what we're working on decoding. That, what are the changes that you should make? What is the highest ROI change, right? What is the smallest intervention that you can make that will have a meaningful impact? So that is what we mean by decoding, because all of these are actually impacting your metabolism. But people historically have said, oh, just eat this, or just eat that, or drink water with lemon. And so the reality is, you need to have a very personalized approach, because literally I have to figure out what does your body need versus what my body needs. So that's what we're trying to do.
Fascinating. And you spoke a little bit about the ring and about the device. Tell me more about this, and is it available to people who want to start this process?
Yeah, absolutely. So what, like I was describing, metabolism is pretty complicated. It's complicated because so many things impact what is happening inside your body. So let's say you take a simple biomarker called glucose, right? Everybody has glucose in their body. Every cell in your body literally uses glucose. From your brain to your heart to your liver, everything uses glucose. So what we do is we use a glucose monitor to figure out, how is the glucose in your body being used? What is changing the glucose? Is it food? For example, you ate something, your glucose spiked. Let's try to figure out what it is that's making your glucose spike. Let's try to reduce the impact of those spikes. That could be you sleep better. It could be you take a walk after your meal. There's literally like a 50 to 100 things you could be doing, all small things, to make your metabolism better. And so the ring, which is this tiny thing, I don't know if you can see it, but it's full of electronics.
Yeah.
So this actually, you just wear it on your finger, and it stays with you the whole day, recording what's happening. Let's say your heart rate, recording what's happening with the body temperature, with your heart rate variability, all those things, SpO2. So it can figure out what is happening in your body, and then along with the glucose sensor, start to give you these tiny interventions that you can be making over time. So let's say It knows that you ate something, your glucose is rising, then it'll say, please go for a walk. So the ring will say, okay, let's say you had pav bhaji today, and you went for a walk of 1,000 steps, and the 1,000 steps managed to control your pav bhaji. Tomorrow, if I have pav bhaji and khandvi and a rasmalai, it'll say, last time 1,000 steps was enough. Probably you need 2,000 steps this time.
Okay.
So that's what we're aiming for. That is, I mean, we're not there yet, but that is the idea. And with the sensors and with the knowledge that we have between the sensors, we'll be able to get to that level of specificity. So that's what we're trying to do. It could even be stuff like, oh, today you didn't sleep well, so please reduce the amount of carbs that you're having. So when you have pav bhaji, eat one slice of toast, don't eat two slices. So that's the kind of specific insight that we're hoping to get to, because the idea is just to make it easy for people. Life is too hard. There's lots of stuff going on. How do we just make lifestyle changes easy? That's what we're trying to do.
I agree. And I know I've never come across anybody who does not say, I think I can lose some more weight, or I think I can feel better. It's aspirational for everybody, but nobody seems to know how. And now what you're saying is that this ring available, the Ultrahuman ring?
It is available. So you could just Google Ultrahuman. It'll take you to our website. The ring is available for pre-order now. We've been very lucky. We've got thousands of people have supported us and trusted us, and we've been shipping the rings for the last month or so. So
wonderful.
The ring is available. The glucose sensor software is available. Both of them are available in India and UAE right now, and then we hope to expand to other countries as well.
Well, then you please watch out for 2 more orders coming from me and my wife. That's fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah. This is the first time. Sorry to interrupt. This is the first time that we're making something like this in India. So it's been a challenge, especially with COVID. Preparing for contingencies. What if Hong Kong shuts down? What if Singapore shuts down? What if Taiwan shuts down? So I think kudos to the team for delivering this on time and getting this in the hands of customers. It's been a huge challenge.
Absolutely incredible. But when you talk metabolic fitness, is it primarily for diabetics, or is it overall general wellness for every human being?
It's for every human being. So like I said, every cell in your body uses glucose, and everybody's body uses glucose. So diabetes is just one of the endpoints of of metabolic health, of something going wrong in your body. But actually, it could be something as common as weight loss. We discussed weight loss a little bit. It could be something as common as lethargy. So it's actually everything. So I'll just give you some stats, right? So I'll give you some stats for the US as an example. The US has about 30 million diabetics, but about 90% plus of the population, so about 300 million people, are metabolically unhealthy. So diabetes is actually a very small part of this whole problem. So there is a lot more that we sort of should be doing other than diabetes itself. So eventually what we want to do is prevent people from getting diabetes, prevent people from gaining weight, prevent people from having PCOS. I think that would be the sort of, that would be an amazing thing to make a contribution towards. Because if you can prevent disease to begin with, help people live longer, help people live healthier, that would be a really nice thing to see in the future.
I agree. And all the data that this little Ultrahuman ring is collecting from each one of us, what are some of the steps that an individual can take, and how do you normally support in analyzing a lot of that information or data?
So we are firm believers that the feedback to folks has to be real time. So it needs to tell you. If you look at the habit science, it says that changes need to be micro in nature. So the larger the change, the less likely it will stick. The feedback needs to be real time in nature, because if somebody tells you a week from now that you should not have eaten that for dinner, you've kind of even forgotten what you ate for dinner. So it's kind of meaningless.
Correct.
So what we're trying to do is give feedback as quickly as possible. So for example, it'll say that, for the last 2 hours, you've been stationary. Maybe you should move around a little bit. Maybe you should go for a walk. It can combine with the glucose sensor and say glucose is rising, like we gave the example of the number of steps. It can say that last time you ate this kind of food, your sleep was not very good. So maybe you want to try to go sleep a bit earlier in the day. So those are all the micro changes that we can make. So think of it any combination of food, sleep, activity, stress. That's what we're playing with and trying to be very specific to you. So that's really what the idea is.
Fascinating. Let's now move on and ask me a little more generic questions on personal devices. I'd love to get your perspective. When I founded Guardian Pharmacy and was running it, there were basically 3 or 4 personal devices: your glucometer, your blood pressure meter, your thermometer, and probably a weighing scale. These are the only 4 personal devices you could find in people's homes. But I now find devices like Ultrahuman, Ring, and others coming in. So what kind of innovations are happening, Bhuvan, in the area of personal devices?
Yeah, we are going to go from, if you remember, your camera used to be a standalone device. And it was just hard to collect data, think of it as data acquisition. It was difficult to acquire data. Then sensors became really cheap, and now, my phone has 3 cameras on it, 3 lenses on it, and 3 microchips behind them. And what happened was that data acquisition became really easy. And so now the focus shifted to how can I make pictures look better? How can I put it on Instagram? How can I get more views on Instagram, right? So I think we're going to go through the same thing in healthcare, where back in the day it was, oh, you have a thermometer, let's check your temperature. There was like one metric. Then it became something else. Then it became something else. Information was taken not in a continuous manner, but in a discrete manner. So, you had those prick meters. You prick yourself, you squeeze the blood out, and you take glucose.
Yeah.
You're supposed to do that 4 times a day, but, it's really painful. So most people, if they're good, at least do it twice a day, but most people don't even do that. So there was just lack of data. There was a lack of information. Acquiring data was so difficult. We are seeing a big change in that. So now you have Apple Watches, you have Fitbit, you have the Ring from our side, you have continuous glucose monitors. Okay, so now all the data is coming in. What do we do with this? So we are at a place where everybody's struggling. Oh, my glucose data is coming in, my heart rate data is coming in, my steps data is coming in. What does it mean? So we are at a stage where data acquisition has become easier, but the insights are still lacking.
Correct.
So we are really working hard on using AI, using software, using technology to make the insights more and more specific and more actionable. And that's going to help both us, like as consumers, and it's also going to help doctors, because you can imagine doctors are overwhelmed. I mean, you are only looking at your data; they're looking at data of 50 people in a day.
Correct.
So they have no idea how to handle it. It's too much. So what we want to do is help you figure out your data, and over time also help doctors figure out what to do with all this data. And of course, the treatment has to lie with the doctor, because the doctor should be making the decision on what is the form of treatment. But we definitely need to help them make sense of this data and make it easier to digest. So that's really where I think a lot of this stuff is going. And if you can imagine, if I'll take the example of self-driving cars, it's not 10 years ago they said, oh wow, how can you ever have a self-driving car, right? It's impossible. And it's not that the sensors became like a million times better. It's just that we literally have a billion times more data than we did earlier. And we have AI to handle that data for us. So I think the same thing is going to happen here, but it's not, the sensors will be the same, just acquiring more data per person. And then the software and the data will help you get to deeper and deeper insights. So that's really the effort. So how can you combine, it's like building blocks. Glucose plus temperature plus activity plus sleep. What does that really mean? What is the insight of that? Today, I don't have an answer for you, but I think in a few years we will have an answer. Okay, the insight means that you have a higher chance of getting Alzheimer's in the future. So it'll be something really cool like that. It'll be predictive. It'll be preventive. That's what we're really trying to get to.
That's so fascinating, and I'm so grateful for such a great response. Because I was talking to somebody who makes these devices, and I said, listen, your device is giving me my blood pressure. It's telling me my sugar. It's telling me how I'm sleeping. It's telling me, that, I walked so many steps every day. Now, what on earth am I supposed to do with 5, 6 different pieces of data? And they said there's no analytics available. But my next question to you, Bhuvan, is that you mentioned very briefly on the use of artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on how will artificial intelligence be able to actually help me analyze my own data even before going to a doctor?
Yeah, so I mean, think of artificial intelligence in one form as pattern recognition. That's one easy way to think of it. Once we have, let's say you have the ring on you. For 1 year, you've had the ring. The ring understands how you eat. The ring understands how active you are, all of that stuff, right? And then what I see potentially is that your SpO2, or your oxygen saturation, starts to go down. The temperature is starting to go up. You haven't noticed anything. You still feel perfectly fine, and your respiratory rate is starting to go up as well. What that means is you're probably getting COVID. That's before you even realize that you have any signs of COVID. So AI can basically look at your own data and then look at the data of our other thousands of users and say, okay, previously when somebody showed those symptoms, they ended up with COVID. So Ashutosh, you're probably getting COVID. Maybe you should isolate yourself for the next day or two to see how things are going, right? And take some preventive measures. Maybe you need to take some vitamins. Maybe you need to keep some other, at the very least, keep some ibuprofen or acetaminophen at hand. So that's the kind of stuff that could happen. Obviously, we can extend that. It could go into, you're going to get potentially you're going to get food poisoning. So something as simple as, man, keep a bathroom around, right? I mean, you don't want to be caught traveling.
Yeah.
So I had food poisoning. My glucose went bonkers, because of the stress response in your body. So and glucose and temperature were rising together. So those are things that we should be able to pick up and help you out with. And I think you'll need AI to make sense of it at a population level, across thousands of people, and then tailor it to you. That what is normal for Ashutosh? Maybe Ashutosh gets, in January, maybe his temperature goes a little bit down because it is cold. So nothing to worry about. But if the same thing happens in June, then maybe something weird is
said.
So that's what we're trying to do.
Thank you. What a great response. And my last question to you, Bhuvan, and this is for the many, many people who will listen to our conversation. Based on your own amazing journey and all the creative work that you are doing along with all your colleagues at Ultrahuman, what would you say are 3 lessons you would want our viewers and listeners to take away from your own journey and from our conversation?
Absolutely. I would say one small thing that, has been hammered into me after studying the habit science is make small changes and not large ones. Take small steps, master them, and then go on to the next one. So, don't go on some crazy diet. Don't go on some crazy workout thing. That's not the science proves that it's not going to lead to lasting change, right? And make changes that you can see for the rest of your life. So if you're saying, man, I'm going to cut out sweets, are you going to cut out sweets for the rest of your life? I love sweets, so that's a
Me too.
close to my heart example. So I can't cut out sweets for the rest of my life. So why am I trying to cut out sweets today? Maybe I need to figure out how to moderate them. So things like that, right? Make small changes, not very large ones. I would say the second thing is, we have seen how fintech, edtech have changed dramatically. So the way that people learn today, the way that people do payments today, with UPI and things like that, has been a huge shift. And I expect healthcare and health tech to be similarly impacted in the next 10 years. And it's going to be very, very interesting because it's going to put a lot of the awareness, it's going to put a lot of frankly, the responsibility also on each of us. Today, we outsource our care to our doctors, right?
Yeah.
And poor doctors are overwhelmed. The medical system is overwhelmed. They're supposed to deal with somebody who's trying to lose weight and somebody who's had a heart attack and somebody who's had Alzheimer's. I mean, there's just too much for them to deal with.
Right.
But with the technology, it's going to come back into your hands. So just like in the past, you had to go to a bank to make a transfer. But today you can do it from your phone. The healthcare is going to go through that same evolution. A lot of it is going to lie on your phone. And if you wish, you can be responsible and you can have better outcomes. So a lot of responsibility would come back to you.
Wonderful.
And I'd say the third thing is, and something to watch out for is there's a new field of longevity that is emerging. And people are saying that the person who's going to live to be 150 has already been born. So somebody on the planet today will live to be 150.
Wow.
And there's a lot of effort on how do you stay healthier for longer? How do you live for longer? There will be lifestyle interventions. There will be therapeutic, meaning drugs type of interventions. But I think as a thought experiment, what I try to think of is, if I'm going to live to be 80 or 90 or 100 and I'm going to be healthy, how many more careers would I like to have, right? I already talked about 3. But maybe I want to be a travel writer at some point. Maybe I want to be a professor at some point. And so I think it's really important to be, to think longer term, to cultivate interest, to be curious, because we will all have more time potentially, and hopefully healthy time, and we'll have to make it a meaningful, as opposed to watching Netflix all day long. So those are some of the things on my mind.
How amazing. And on that note, Bhuvan, and your 3 amazing lessons, which is make small changes, take really bite-sized milestones, make changes that can be sustained. Your second one was health tech will become huge. So we should keep watching out for what's happening. We probably have to prepare to start to look at possibilities of taking healthcare in our own hands, and then working with healthcare specialists. And third one is what you spoke very rightly, which is longevity is a new field. And we really have to start thinking, what are we going to do as our lives get longer and longer and longer? Thank you so much for speaking to me. Thank you for talking to me about your own journey, about Ultrahuman, about Ultrahuman Ring. I'm going to ask all our viewers and listeners to go and check out the Ultrahuman Ring.
Please do.
I don't need to check it out. I've already sold, so I will be ordering 2 for me and my wife. Thank you also for talking to me about such an amazing and deep knowledge you have about metabolism and all the stuff that's happening in the body. Thank you again, and good luck.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.